Thomas Frank masterminded an unbelievably impressive 2-0 win at the Etihad on Saturday, which of course would have been the perfect springboard for Daniel Levy to bounce off into getting some deals agreed that would satisfy both his manager and the Spurs fan base. But no, here we are, 6 days left of the transfer window, scrabbling around with reports of interest in massive, potentially game-changing players, yet all in the selling club's knowledge that we're holding the begging bowl and have money to spend. Levy loves to leave it late, but more than ever, it feels like his peers, the rest of the chairmen in the Premier League, are equally desperate to pull his pants down, to make him look stupid out of spite for all the times he's messed them around in negotiations down the years. I'll go through all the latest transfer reports and give my considered thoughts a few days after that Etihad victory in today's edition of Daily Tottenham Transfer News. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening wherever you are. Please do give this video a like. If you're on YouTube, press that subscribe button. We've got 6 days left of the window. Like I said, I'll be doing daily transfer news reports from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And also, please come and join my community on BigUp, which is where I'll be doing all the watch-alongs for the Spurs games this season. The link is in the description box below. All you have to do is go on the link, give them your email address, and press the join the community button. But let's get started. Like I said, links with absolutely huge players. And I think a lot of people in the Spurs fan base will be like, we've heard it all before, Daniel, haven't we? Where we get these reports of links to these very exciting players. They never get over the line. And then towards the end of the window, you get a Fraser Campbell or a Timo Werner. Well, we're 6 days out, so we're going to find out whatever happens. But the latest one is, according to Sky Sports, Tottenham ready to test Aston Villa's resolve to keep hold of Morgan Rogers with a firm offer expected. Apparently, we've held preliminary discussions over a deal to sign Morgan Rogers. Now, can I say that I would be excited by a move for Morgan Rogers? Yes, of course. He's a really excellent number 8, number 10, exactly what we're looking for. Young, but also Premier League experienced. Frustratingly, he was on our list before he moved to Aston Villa. So again, another example, as with the Eza deal, of when we had a player on our list when he was at a championship club. We were interested in him, but we didn't pull the trigger. And I wonder if maybe that happens more and more often these days, because the Tottenham hierarchy are worried that the fan base just won't be impressed enough by us getting in players like that. Because Eza was on our list back when he was at QPR, just as an example. And for me, I think just you've got to, maybe the kind of hierarchy, the very top, the Daniel Levy's of this world, have to kind of trust those scouts who say that, you know, we've got a really exciting young player in the championship here. Let's bring him to the club. It worked with Dele Alli, didn't it? Let's face it. So I don't know. I also get the fact that it hasn't always worked. Obviously, Jack Clark, when he came to the club from Leeds, and we spent a fair amount of money on him, that didn't work. But for me, a lot of it in terms of getting players from the championship is to do with their physicality. Can they handle the rough and tumble of it? And Jack Clark had done well at Leeds, but he wasn't big yet. Like, he needed to fill out, and he never really did. And whereas Eza and Morgan Rogers were both quite big guys. Anyway, like I said, yes, I would love us to get Morgan Rogers over the line. But, and actually, before I go into my overall thoughts on this, the next one that we're looking at supposedly is Kobbie Mainoo for Manchester United. Now, he is not starting games at Man United. Somehow, Amorim is picking Casemiro ahead of him, which is wild to me. But also apparently interested in Mainoo are Fulham, Chelsea, and Brighton. So realistically, if he does leave Man United, let's face it, he'll go to Chelsea. But Spurs are being linked with him. And the issue I have with Tottenham being linked with the players of the kind of name, the size, and the standard of Morgan Rogers and Kobbie Mainoo is, it's 6 days to go towards the transfer window. I'm afraid that if Daniel Levy thinks that it's still the case, like maybe it was a decade ago, that you could get your best deals done in the last week of the window, and now I think it's completely the opposite. Because now it's all about any selling club being able to replace that player. So the domino effect is just too huge now. And clubs don't need the money in the same way that they did 10, 15 years ago. The money that every club in the Premier League gets now is enough for them to keep their best players if they really want to. So that's why I'm cynical. It's really hard for me to imagine these players coming in. And I'll bring you more reports of some equally big name players that we're supposedly interested in from the Premier League a bit further on. Ali Gold has said that Tottenham are prioritising a number 10 and a winger in the remaining days of the window. Thomas Frank would also like another centre-back with a belief that Luka Vuskovic would benefit from a loan with regular football. Now, I wonder if that means if we're concentrating on a number 10 and a winger in these last kind of 6 days, whether if we then don't get another centre-back in, whether Vuskovic will stay for the first 6 months of the season. And I wouldn't hate that, to be honest, because I just think, especially with sometimes us playing three at the back, three centre-backs, the reserve options of, Danso would come in as the third centre-back. And then if we get an injury, we're then down to Ben Davis. And if we get rid of Vuskovic on loan, we're down to Ben Davis and Takai. And we haven't seen Takai. Like he's just been injured the whole time. So I don't really know, and they've barely seen him in training, how they can trust him above Luka Vuskovic at this point. So I'd be tempted to keep Luka Vuskovic. Should say, Ali Gold did say yesterday, Piero Hincapie from Bayer Leverkusen is not a potential signing at this point. That was after some huge reports started by Fabrizio Romano yesterday morning that Spurs had approached Bayer Leverkusen for Hincapie with a new proposal, which was a loan deal with an obligation to buy around 60 million euros, which is the value of his release clause. Romano released that, but then just a few minutes later, came out and said Arsenal want Hincapie and he wants to join them. And Ben Jacobs joined in. He's a journalist as well. Ben Jacobs said more on Piero Hincapie. Arsenal pursue contingent on outgoings, but a bid is being prepared. Leverkusen want the 60 million from his release clause, and the player is asked to leave for offers around 45 million euros. Spurs held talks on the player side, but no one's aware of any formal bid. So that was a big one yesterday because the Tottenham fan base rightly saw another Eberechi Eze situation coming in where we're interested in a player and then Arsenal just come in and steal. And I think what probably happened, if I'm going to read between the lines, is that Tottenham got wind of Arsenal's interest and then probably pulled out of all talks. Because like I said last week, after what happened with Eze, Daniel Levy cannot be seen to be having talks with players who are interesting Arsenal as well, because we'll just get our pants pulled down. Of course, he's going to join Arsenal over and above us at this stage in their project, and it's just too mortifying. It's too embarrassing. The next one, according to the Mail, Tottenham now showing a genuine interest in signing West Ham number 10, Lucas Paqueta. He's back on the market after being cleared of spot-fixing allegations, and he has said that he wants a new challenge. However, what I thought was a little naive of Lucas Paqueta is on Friday night, he scored an absolute worldie against Chelsea, the first goal of the game before then West Ham shipped 5 against them. But he got so excited after scoring his worldie from outside the box that he kissed the badge, which I think is going to come back to haunt him if he wants to really push for a move in this last week of the window. Listen, Lucas Paqueta is an amazing player, and I think him and obviously Mohamed Kudus would play incredibly well together again. However, I think West Ham would be, I cannot imagine the reaction of their fan base if they sell Paqueta to Spurs as well as Kudus to Spurs. I think that would be absolutely madness from them. And also, Paqueta has been interesting Man City for the last year or so, so maybe he'll try and hold out for something there. Tottenham have held talks with PSG apparently about signing Kang-in Lee. They want 50 million euros for his sale. Of course, he scored the first goal for PSG against Spurs in their comeback in the Super Cup final. This is a deal, I have to say, out of all of the deals that I've read about and that I see being talked about in the last 6 days of the window, this is one that I can kind of see happening. We've done a fair amount of dealing with PSG over the last few years. If you think about Lucas Moura, Serge Aurier, they have a lot of squad players, and he's a player who's not getting regular starts there. Also, the cynical among you might say, oh, Daniel Levy's seeing another opportunity to get the Asian market interested in Tottenham Hotspur. So in terms of the selling club kind of being difficult, I imagine PSG would be probably a lot more easy for Daniel Levy to deal with in these last 6 days of the window than, say, Aston Villa or West Ham. So that is one that I potentially could see happening. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments about Kang-in Lee. There's also been a big furore and kind of endless back and forth over the weekend about Nico Paz at Como. Clearly a player that Tottenham really want as their number 10. But it's a very difficult deal because Nico Paz came from Real Madrid, and Real Madrid have a buyback clause that, according to a lot of reports, as of next summer is as low as 10 million euros. Meanwhile, Tottenham have just been upping their bid for him over the weekend. So the latest reports last night is that Como turned down a bid from Spurs of £65 million because he's considered non-transferable. Nico Paz wants to stay at Como and he wants to take them into Europe. Previous to that, Dimarzio said that Spurs made a final bid of €65 million, but actually then added that, and that was €65 million plus a further 10 million in add-ons. Another report over the weekend was that Spurs did bid €70 million all in, but he wants to stay in Como with a view on his Real Madrid future, of going back to Real Madrid next season, because they have a €10 million buyback clause. To some degree, it also says they also said that Real have a €10 million buyback clause, but they will compensate Como in the future. I mean, to me, that sounds a bit like, do you remember when we sold Gareth Bale and Daniel Levy negotiated in a special relationship, which literally then never came to anything? That sounds like Real Madrid doing exactly the same thing. Like, we'll compensate you in the future, even though we're going to pull your pants down. This might be an interesting one for Como overall. Obviously, they want to keep the player. He is good. But if they're being offered 60 million quid and they're only going to get about 6 million quid in a year, that does seem to me like that would be a difficult one to turn down. But seemingly they have. But again, Tottenham wasting time, because the initial bid was £39 million, then it went up to 45 million, and then up to 60 million. Fabrizio Romano said Como will only accept a top offer. It's not an easy deal, and Real Madrid would have to be involved in that deal. And it's like Spurs have wasted the last 5-6 days on this. Like, they wasted endless amounts of time on Morgan Gibbs-White and Eberechi Eze, and that's why we are where we are. Last 6 days, nobody knows what's going to happen, and I put it in my title. I think there's a chance Tottenham get nobody. I really do. As bleak as it sounds, I think there's a chance Tottenham will end this transfer window only having got Palhinha in on loan, Kudus in as £55 million, and then Takai in as a kind of young talent. And I think that'll send the Spurs fan base absolutely loopy. And I really do think there's a chance already that the protests at the weekend's game against Bournemouth will be pretty raucous. But the reason I think it's likely or very possible it won't happen, and listen, I hope, I'm recording this at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, right? I hope that this is voided by the time you're watching it because Spurs have bought a player, but I fear that won't be the case. But the reason I think it might be that we don't get anyone else in is because Thomas Frank has been very open, hasn't he? He said, I only want to bring in players at this point who are going to improve the first team. And if we can't get hold of any of them, then I think he'll say, okay, well, let's wait and start doing our business for January now and next summer now, just like Arne Slot did with Liverpool. He didn't buy anyone in his first season. The difference is Liverpool didn't just finish 17th the season before. But Thomas Frank has had a really good start at Spurs, and that will kind of almost tempt Daniel Levy to go along with him, won't it? And not push the boat out for any of these big players. Okay, Spurs did meet with the Man City hierarchy after the game to talk about Savinho, and reports yesterday suggest Spurs are growing increasingly confident they will complete a deal to sign him. City are surprised by how much the player wants the move. He's been convinced by the role he played under Thomas Frank and believes he has a greater chance of fulfilling his potential at Spurs. Other reports over the weekend, Romano saying Spurs are now going over €70 million for Savinho and will try and get the deal done. One thing I will say is there have been a few little... Fabrizio Romano is getting absolute pelters this weekend about the Hincapie stuff, about him seemingly making stuff up or being on the payroll of agents and players and clubs. He's getting absolute pelters. But one thing he is sticking with, he keeps saying, watch this space about Savinho. He keeps saying, I'm the one who broke the Savinho story. Watch. And I'm not sure he would be fighting so hard for that if he didn't genuinely believe it was going to happen. A lot of it apparently depends, as we've been saying, on whether Man City can get a replacement. And they are all in for Rodrigo at the moment. And there was a report that Real Madrid's Rodrigo this weekend said to his agent, please find me another club. Man City, according to Romano, had blocked all approaches in the last 10 days, but Spurs will continue to push for Savinho. So it's a very odd one. Again, like I said, it feels to me like, it'll be another one that we've wasted a load of time on and nothing will happen. But I hope to be proven wrong, because that is a signing that I think would excite Spurs fans. My other issue with the Tottenham hierarchy and how much time they're wasting on all these deals is maybe they just don't have enough people who are talking to clubs. Because, if they want to get 3 players in, how many people have they got talking to different clubs? There isn't enough time in the day. So maybe they need to get more people in their recruitment team who they're happy to do negotiations. Okay, other reports again that we still have significant interest in Magnez Akliouche from Monaco. Exciting number 10. They want 70 million euros for the player. He feels like one who's on the list, but maybe a bit further down, as is Bilal El Khanous, who's being pushed towards Spurs after Crystal Palace had 2 bids rejected for him. He looked set to sign for them earlier in the week, but now Tottenham has personally launched Spurs' efforts to sign him. Leicester want 35 million euros to sell him. Maybe that's one that is more likely towards the end of the window. Tottenham looking to try and get Savinho, looking to get Akliouche, looking to maybe get Morgan Rogers, but maybe Bilal El Khanous is more likely. Fabrizio Romano also talked about the latest on the Xavi Simons move. He played for RB Leipzig at the weekend. He wants to join Chelsea towards the end of the window, but they can't do anything until Nkunku leaves. And Tottenham have also approached Xavi Simons, but like I said, his priority is to Chelsea. If he wants to go to Chelsea, let him go to Chelsea. Jeremy Pino is also on the list of Tottenham, alongside Bournemouth and Everton. Palace have also explored a move for him. And a report over the weekend that Roma are looking to sign Wilson Odobert. He hasn't started any of the games this season for Spurs. Did look good when he came on at the weekend, I thought, though. Spurs apparently want to start negotiations over his sale at 25 million euros. AS Roma could meet this price through a loan fee and an option to buy the player. That, for me, is one that I wouldn't like to see happening. But obviously, if we do get in a Savinho on the left side, that would leave Odobert, Savinho, and Tell and Johnson fighting for place on that left-hand side. So maybe at that point you could let Odobert go on a loan, but not with an option, not with an obligation, with an option for me. All right, guys. Before I go on to some quotes from the weekend, as well as my thoughts on the Spurs win at the Etihad. Once again, thank you so much for watching and listening. Please do drop this video a like on YouTube. The more likes we get, the more Spurs fans get these videos into their suggested videos on the platform. And also, if you haven't already, over 120 of you have joined my community on BigUp, which is where I'm now doing live watch-alongs for every Spurs game. So please do come on over. Details in the description box below. Just click on the link or copy and paste the link into your browser and give them your email address and press the join the community button. It's really good doing the watch-alongs over there. All right, guys, I'm going to start by just giving my considered thoughts on that Man City win. Firstly, I cannot give enough props to Thomas Frank, and I think that people are starting to realize, and some worry a little bit, about how good Tottenham have started and how good Spurs can be. I think a lot of people just got sucked in by the 17th place finish and didn't think really about what's the squad that Tottenham actually have and how much we missed a lot of that squad from injury last season. So, if you look at Monday Night Football last night and the way that Jamie Carragher talked about Spurs and Thierry Henry, and if you look at a lot of people, a lot of fans on TikTok or on YouTube of other clubs are being like, oh, Spurs are actually really good, really narrow, really compact, really tight, but also still exciting on the ball and making chances. More dangerous from set pieces. And that's really good. It's one of the best things about the period of time when Mauricio Pochettino was our manager was for 5 years, other people loved watching Spurs. Other people loved talking about Tottenham as the team they love to watch. And not just in an Ange Postecoglou way when it's because, or like a Marcelo Bielsa way when he was at Leeds, where it's because they're going to be goals on either side, but because we're doing things the right way. And that's very exciting. And all props to Thomas Frank for that. I do think as a result, though, the fitness of our back five, back six is absolutely key. It's all good at the moment when we only have one game a week. But with the Champions League draw towards the end of this week and then starting next month, we will need to keep our back five, back six fit as we go into having 2 or 3 games a week. And that is where the squad depth or lack of it will absolutely kill us if we start getting injuries in that back five or back six. But I'm hopeful that Thomas Frank and his coaching team and the new medical staff are training in a different way to how they were training under Ange Postecoglou. And also, you can tell in the games now, it's so different in the games. And I talk about this in my watch-alongs over on BigUp, which is how Tottenham will take breathers during the game. They'll slow things down when they get free kicks. They'll be considered over things, whereas Ange was all about the relentlessness, wasn't he? And therefore, I just never thought that the muscles really got any kind of break and the muscle fatigue caused injuries. I want to talk about Rodrigo Bentancur briefly. I just think he's incredibly underrated. And finally, with Polinia there, another player who we desperately need to keep fit, he was unbelievable at the Etihad. It's almost like having a like-minded player alongside Rodrigo Bentancur really frees him up to play his best football. And I just think he's thoroughly underrated. Just both of them in those kind of double pivot roles totally bossed the game the other day. There was only one run really from Haaland in the first half where he kind of bulldozed through both of them, got a few ricochets and then played a beautiful ball through. But they were in control of that game, and they are a big physical presence that's going to make Spurs hard to beat for as long as they stay fit this season. And then the final point I just want to make about it is Vicario, who hasn't been talked a lot about a great deal in terms of his performance in that game, but he made some huge saves at 0-0, and his short passing has really improved this season. And he is being asked to play it out from the back still, but the difference mainly being that if there's nothing on, he's just told you're allowed to just kick it long. You don't have to try and play a pass you can't play. And that has made him look a lot better of a distributing goalkeeper. So that's really good. Just some quotes from Thomas Frank on things. He was asked about the transfer activity. He said, I don't speak about specific players unless they are at our fantastic club. There have been a lot of rumours. A lot of times there's nothing in it. That's part of the business. There'll be a lot of links. And to generalize that, to be very, very clear, I don't want any players that don't want to come to the club. This is very specifically looking at the likes of Everett Chiesa and Piero Hincapie. He says they don't want to come to the club to wear this fantastic badge, and we don't want them here. It's a couple of things. The club is working very hard to see if we can strengthen the squad with players who can improve the squad. That's what we'll continue doing till the end of the window. He went on to say, we're in the market and we'll look to strengthen the team. We have a good squad and good players. I see 23 players working very hard all the time. We need to do everything we can to be as competitive as possible. I'm confident we'll sign a player towards the end of the window. 2 players in, 2 players out, so probably a bit similar. It's the same level, but that's good. It's my job and that of my staff to make sure we can compete. Every club wants to sign players as early as possible, but it's not that easy. I'm a positive guy. I'm not that fearful. I believe something will happen. So he's towing the party line, isn't he? He's saying he knows how difficult it is. He was also asked his opinions on Richarlison. He says, right now he's my starting 9, scored 2 goals in the first game, played brilliantly against Man City. He wants to stay. I want to keep him, and there's been no talks about anything else. We have 6 good front players. Kulusevski will also come back. I'm also pretty confident we'll sign a player before the end of the window, as he said. And then just a nice little thing from Kevin Danso, where he talked about playing alongside Christian Romero. He said, Romero's an amazing guy. In the dressing room, he's really calm and easygoing. But on the pitch is where you see that warrior side. So if you get him stuck into a tackle, it gives you confidence. I love that. As a defender, sometimes you need that aggression. That's a leading trait. If you think back to the old centre-backs, the John Terrys and the Vidiches, I really think that centre-back partnership of Van der Ven and Romero in the 4 and Van der Ven, Romero and Danso in the 5, the physicality, the ability in the air, the pace, the strength makes us a force. It really does. And also, I really love this that Kevin Danso has told The Sun that he's learning Spanish to be able to communicate better with Christian Romero. So I think Danso has been a really excellent signing for Spurs. Yeah, I just like that little bit of information. All right, guys. Well, let's hope for some movement today on Tuesday. But thank you so much for watching. Like I said, do give the video a like, press subscribe and the notification bell for my daily Tottenham transfer content. And please do become a member of the channel. Only costs £1 a month. Really helps me to make this daily content for you. All the details of how in the description box below. Enjoy your day and come on, you Spurs.